is going to discuss the development of a practical collaboration to embed object handling into the recruitment process for a new degree programme at the University of Birmingham. The value of object handling, and here I've got a quote, and Sarah, I also have trouble with this word, Google. The value of object handling has long been recognised as a viable constructivist pedagogy capable of mediating significant meaning and context. And Andrew Simpson and Gina Hammond discuss that in their article in University Museums and Collections Journal from 2012. In 2013, the Cadbury Research Library at the University of Birmingham embarked on an innovative project working with our College of Social Sciences, who are actually based in the rest of this building with us, to embed object handling relating to our collections and our wider museum collections as well, into the recruitment process for students to our new Liberal Arts and Sciences degree. The aim of our project was to assess how the long recognised benefits of object handling as a way of engaging with collections would translate into a viable element of the student recruitment process, and to measure what the benefits are that it would bring to that process. Just to give you a bit of background, this approach came about, as we've heard from many of our talks today, through discussion, through personal relationships. We offered a tour, our team offer a huge amount of tours to staff, students, but also to our alumni. And one of our tours with our university alumni was accompanied by one of our professors, Cillian Ryan, who's our Director of Education for Social Sciences. Cillian hadn't previously visited us, and he was struck by how well this process actually worked with our alumni, and how the introduction of a couple of carefully selected key items could really promote knowledge transfer, emotions, and a sense of value and identity with the institution amongst the alumni. Joe Kane said something interesting in one of his papers from the University of Museums Journal in 2010. Unless we can create something significantly better with object-based learning, I, as a tutor, just won't be tempted. And I think it was proving that to Cillian and him seeing it for himself and having that experience of what might be possible and what it might add to the process for him. So he was in the process of setting up his new degree, and he approached me speculatively to see if we'd be interested in working with him to introduce an hour-long session into the students' interview day. And this is a completely formal day for them, revolving around some form of object-based handling. Specifically, Cillian was very interested in engaging the students in an activity which he thought they would perceive as fun. Compared to the more formal interview process, the chance to really get hands-on with things, to touch, to handle, to just do something a bit different in the interview day was very interesting to him. And to show off the amazing cultural assets as a university. And this was a major selling point for him, to his market of students who are interested in a liberal education in what is a competitive environment in terms of higher education and bringing in students. So he was looking to find a relaxing but a stimulating environment in which the students could be encouraged to demonstrate a range of transferable skills, including listening, interpersonal communication, and also team working. Excuse me. In discussion with Cillian, and we had quite a few discussions with him, and sort of tried to tease out and work with him about what his needs actually were, we evolved a structure for the session within a 60-minute time slot. So in total we ran 8 separate sessions with different groups of students over a 4-month time period. That was the recruitment period for the course. Working over the period allowed us to evolve the sessions and really learn from our mistakes. And myself and my colleague Martin Colleen, who's over there in the audience, we spent quite a long time, selecting items and thinking about what we were doing, and then changing that for the different sessions depending on the reaction and what those particular items triggered. So each group consisted of approximately 6 students. Throughout the process that went up and down, so sometimes we had 10, sometimes we had 4. The first 10 minutes were a general introduction for ourselves, but also for the students, to us and to each other, because these people had only met for the first time that day. We then showed them very briefly a film about the Cadbury Research Library and our work. And often the students hadn't had contact with an archive before, a research library, or a similar sort of institution. They had had contact with their school library in most cases, but they had all had contact in some form with museums, probably as consumers, going in to see exhibitions, going in from children, the age of children, to see exhibitions. So our introduction started from that point of base knowledge. From the session, from the start, as session leaders, we were very much treating the students as informed learners. So we, for example, were avoiding speaking down to them, and we were assuming that their knowledge level of historical events and general knowledge was at a reasonably high level. And, we were absolutely amazed at how high that was, actually, in many cases. The media, the mix of items that we brought into the session was very important, I think. So we mixed archival materials with rare books, with artwork, with artefacts. So we had, for example, Egyptian papyrus listing household taxes. Killian is an economic historian, so that was tapped right into his area, and he loved talking about that. A slavery deed from the mid-1700s for a plantation in Jamaica. A copy of De Humanae Corporis Fabrica from 1543 by Vesalius. An early wax medical model of the ear. Photographs of soldiers in the First World War. This is an example from our YMCA collection of soldiers in a YMCA hut on one of the fronts. And a computer-generated model of a sculpture on campus. That's just to give you a few examples, and we would mix and bring in different items for each session. We wanted them to have the opportunity to handle all types of different items, to think about the origins of those items, what they were made for, and what material they were made in, who had created them and what their purpose was in creating them, what purpose they might have been used for which were unintentional to their original creators, and what researchers might use them for today. We wanted them to see a network of connections and to go beyond the item to the event, to the experience and to the human emotion. So we wanted them to be able to engage on an emotional level with the items and for them to attempt to express that engagement. Once we had a bit of a hands-on session, which lasted about 40 minutes, the students split into small groups, and they spent about 15 minutes looking at the items, and then fed back to the wider group about what they felt was the most significant item and why. And what most impressed Martin and myself was the way many groups would pick not just one item, but they were creating linkages between them. So one student, who was very eloquent actually, was able to make linkages between the slavery deed, between the slavery manacles that we had out, and images that we had out from Nazi Germany, the concentration camp, and writings of Neville Chamberlain, which we hold in our collections, to sort of trigger her thought process. So she was taking it to the next stage very much. Of course, some of the students were better able to express themselves, but I think they all played a part, and they all worked towards the sessions. The students went on from our sessions to their individual interviews, which is the more stressful part of the experience for them, I think. And we had feedback from the sessions from a number of different channels. The students gave us feedback in their interview process, which we were also involved in, and then formally following the day sessions. So all of them commented on how positive an experience they found the collection sessions. Many mentioned how exciting it was to be able to handle the original items. I think when we're doing that every day, we forget that, and what a different dimension it brings to the learning experience for them. Many mentioned how exciting it was to be able to work with archives, rare books and museum objects and to be trusted. And it's something that we experience a lot in the Cadbury Research Library, students coming in and saying, well, you trust us to handle a document from the 1500s, the same as you trust our professor. Yes, absolutely, that's what we're here for, that's what the material is here for. Killian and the course tutors gave their own feedback, both written and verbal. Killian believed the session was crucial to enhancing the reputation of the institution with the prospective students who hadn't appreciated the wealth of cultural collections available to them, and the significance of our rare book and archival holdings on a national and an international level as well. He felt it really pushed all of the students and showed them in a relatively relaxed environment, which was different to the formal interview process and different perhaps to the side of them that he saw in that process. So in summary, it fulfilled his aims for this particular project. We've used object-based learning, working with tutors to develop tailor-made sessions for a number of years, and many of our staff engage in that work. Object-based learning as part of the recruitment process for a complete course was a new experience for us, and it was really interesting to be involved in it. I think there are opportunities for developing this project to fulfil a valuable role in contributing towards the student recruitment process across a variety of disciplines. We're going to work with the new liberal arts students that we've recruited to produce a case study about this project. We'll also be building on our relationships with the students by working with them on internship and volunteering opportunities. From our point of view, the project creates relationships with students from the very earliest point in their university career at interview, which is extremely early from our point of view, introducing them to the collections and encouraging them to be active learners and researchers and to feel comfortable working with us and working with archives and in a research library environment. It also demonstrates our value to the institution, as Sheila said, in an area of the work that's increasingly becoming highly significant in a competitive environment, student recruitment. Thank you.